In sports, to be a champion, you have to have brutal honesty.
God damn it! Don't tap that glass, don't tap that glass, don't tap that glass, don't tap that glass, there's a monster already, don't tap that.
COCO GAUFF'S $27 million secret, the meeting that could change tennis forever. What happens when tennis royalty, basketball gods, and a 21-year-old superstar walk into a room that doesn't exist on any map? The answer might just rewrite the entire rulebook of modern sports business. Welcome back to Champions Tennisistics, where we bring you the most explosive, unfiltered truth bombs from the tennis world and beyond. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear involves secret meetings, jaw-dropping money moves, a potential sports switch that has the internet in meltdown mode, and football legends bowing down to tennis queens. This is the story of how COCO Gauff became the center of a sports revolution that nobody saw coming. The sports world operates on schedules, press releases, and carefully managed public appearances. But every once in a while, something happens off the record, behind closed doors, in rooms where the walls are thick and the stakes are astronomical. That's exactly what went down with COCO Gauff recently. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no official calendar entry. Just a young woman walking into an undisclosed location with her gym bag, expecting maybe a routine sponsorship chat, only to find herself face-to-face with living legends Serena Williams and Michael Jordan. Yes, you heard that correctly. The queen of tennis and his airness himself, sitting across from the rising American star, ready to discuss something that would send shockwaves through the entire athletic landscape. What transpired in those soundproof walls wasn't just another endorsement deal or a friendly pep talk from veterans to a rising star. This was about legacy, power, and the future of women's sports. A $27 million deal landed on that table, a figure so substantial it could secure multiple generations of Gauff's family. But here's the thing everyone needs to understand. The money is just the beginning. The real story is what that money represents. It's about influence, about redefining what's possible for young Black women in sports, about creating pathways that didn't exist before. Serena and Michael aren't just handing out checks. They're architects of a new empire, and they've chosen COCO as the cornerstone. The secrecy surrounding this meeting has fueled endless speculation. Why the hush-hush approach? What are they building that requires this level of discretion? Industry insiders suggest this could involve everything from a revolutionary sports academy to a media production company focused on telling athlete stories from a completely fresh perspective. Others whisper about tech investments, fashion lines, or even a new sports management firm that could challenge the traditional power structures. Whatever it is, having Serena Williams and Michael Jordan as your business partners isn't just a flex. It's a seismic shift in how athlete empowerment operates at the highest level. But while the boardrooms buzz with clandestine negotiations and world-changing deals, COCO Gauff has been absolutely destroying it on the court. Let's talk about her 2025 season, because calling it impressive would be the understatement of the decade. This young woman didn't just have a good year. She had a statement year that silenced every doubter, every critic, and every armchair analyst who questioned whether she could handle the pressure of expectations. Roland Garros 2025 will go down in history. COCO walked onto that red clay in Paris with something to prove. Critics had spent months dissecting her forehand, claiming it was too inconsistent for the heavy, grinding nature of clay court tennis. They said her aggressive style wouldn't translate to the slower surface. They were wrong. Devastatingly wrong. COCO carved through the draw with surgical precision, her movement on clay looking like she'd been born on the red dirt. The final wasn't even close. She dominated with a maturity that belied her age, showcasing not just power but strategic depth that had seasoned commentators comparing her to the all-time greats. Then came Wuhan. Different continent, different surface, same result, total domination. The Wuhan Open victory proved that Roland Garros wasn't a fluke or a one-off magical run. This was COCO Gauff operating at a completely different level, adapting her game to varying conditions and opponents with the kind of versatility that only the truly elite possess. By 21 years old, she's already collected multiple major titles, joining an exclusive club of tennis prodigies who delivered on impossible expectations. Martina Navratilova herself has praised COCO's trajectory, noting the rare combination of athleticism, court intelligence, and mental fortitude required to succeed at this level so young. COCO is the face of the WTA right now. Her matches draw massive viewership numbers. Her social media presence influences millions. Sponsors line up for the opportunity to associate with her brand. She represents everything modern tennis needs: accessibility, authenticity, excellence, and star power that transcends the sport itself. But here's where the plot thickens and the tennis world collectively loses its mind. Despite all this success with a tennis racket, whispers have turned into roars that Coco Gauff might be destined for greatness in an entirely different sport. Not golf, not basketball. We're talking about the sport that has divided athletics down the middle, the sport that tennis purists love to hate and recreational players can't get enough of: pickleball. The pickleball conversation exploded when Eugenie Bouchard, the Canadian tennis sensation who traded her professional tennis career for the pickleball courts, made some absolutely wild predictions on the Kitchen Pickleball podcast. Bouchard didn't just suggest Coco could succeed in pickleball, she practically guaranteed world domination. When asked which current tennis stars could make the transition successfully, Bouchard didn't hesitate to put Gauff at the top of her list, and her reasoning was backed by detailed technical analysis that had pickleball fans salivating at the possibility. According to Bouchard, Coco's athleticism isn't just elite. It's the perfect recipe for pickleball success. Bouchard broke it down scientifically, explaining that while most tennis players naturally feel comfortable in pickleball singles because the movements and court coverage translate directly, the doubles game is where many tennis converts struggle. The positioning is different. The strategy shifts dramatically. The reflexes need recalibrating for a smaller court and faster exchanges. But here's the kicker. Bouchard sees Coco possessing that rare dual excellence. She pointed to Jack Sock as the template, noting that Sock's dominance in tennis doubles translated seamlessly into pickleball doubles supremacy. Coco Gauff, who has demonstrated exceptional doubles skills on the tennis court, would theoretically possess that same crossover magic. Bouchard was refreshingly honest about her own struggles, admitting that her weaker doubles game in tennis has shown up as a weakness in pickleball doubles competition. She currently ranks 9th in the professional pickleball world, which is impressive but clearly not where she wants to be. But when the conversation turned to Coco's potential timeline for success, Bouchard dropped an absolutely nuclear take. She estimated that Coco Gauff could become a top 5 player in the world within 8 months of seriously pursuing pickleball. 8 months. Think about the implications of that statement for a moment. Eugenie Bouchard, someone actively competing at the highest level of professional pickleball, someone who understands exactly how skilled the competition is, believes Coco Gauff's athletic gifts are so extraordinary that she could bypass years of development and jump straight into elite status. Bouchard clarified that she's not diminishing the sport. She acknowledged that the competition is fierce and that most tennis converts require a full year minimum to adapt to the nuances. But for Coco, apparently the normal rules of athletic development simply don't apply. The spin control, the court positioning, the paddle technique, the strategic differences, Bouchard believes Gauff would master it all faster than anyone has before. The pickleball world is absolutely salivating at this possibility. The sport has exploded in popularity over the past few years, but it still struggles with mainstream credibility. Landing a superstar like Coco Gauff would be transformational for pickleball's legitimacy and media coverage. Suddenly, major networks would cover tournaments. Sponsorship dollars would multiply exponentially. The sport would transition from recreational curiosity to genuine athletic competition in the public consciousness. Coco Gauff choosing pickleball would be the biggest get in the sport's history, dwarfing even the high-profile conversions that have already occurred. But what does Coco herself think about this plastic ball revolution? Is she eyeing that pickleball paddle with secret ambition, or does she think the whole thing is beneath her tennis pedigree? Well, Coco hasn't been shy about sharing her perspective, and let's just say she threw some serious shade while keeping it diplomatically packaged. In a revealing interview with Vogue, Gauff started with praise that seemed genuine enough. She acknowledged pickleball's accessibility, noting that anything getting people off their couches and moving is fundamentally positive. She even admitted to watching professional pickleball matches, showing she's at least curious about the sport's highest level. It all sounded very supportive and gracious, exactly what you'd expect from a media-trained superstar. But then came the backhand slice that cut deep. Coco didn't hold back when addressing the skill gap question directly. She made it crystal clear that in her opinion, tennis players possess a higher level of athletic talent than pickleball players, and her evidence was brutal in its simplicity. She pointed out that numerous athletes have transitioned to professional pickleball and reached the top of the sport in less than 5 months. In tennis, that timeline is absolutely impossible. The physical demands, technical requirements, tactical complexity, and mental fortitude needed for elite tennis simply cannot be mastered that quickly. The fastest route from beginner to professional in tennis takes years of dedicated training, and even then, reaching the top requires rare genetic gifts combined with perfect development. Coco's conclusion was delivered with polite savagery. If people can become top professionals in pickleball within months, she suggested, then perhaps the quality of the sport just isn't at the same level as tennis. She emphasized that such rapid ascension would never, ever happen in tennis, making her point about the comparative skill ceiling abundantly clear. But here's where Coco showed her diplomatic side. She immediately softened the critique by saying people are having fun and she's not going to hate on the sport. That's fine, she said. People are enjoying it. That's fine. Those 2 words, that's fine, might be the most dismissive compliment in sports history. It's the equivalent of saying, bless your heart, in the South. It sounds nice on the surface, but the subtext is cutting. Coco Gauff essentially said pickleball is a perfectly acceptable recreational activity for people who enjoy it, but let's not pretend it's in the same athletic stratosphere as professional tennis. The pickleball community had mixed reactions, with some appreciating her honesty and others feeling defensive about their sport's legitimacy. Based on these comments, it seems highly unlikely that Coco will fulfill Eugenie Bouchard's prediction anytime soon. She's laser-focused on her tennis career, chasing the world #1 ranking and collecting Grand Slam titles like they're going out of style. The pickleball paddle will have to wait until retirement, if it happens at all. But the very fact that this conversation exists, that top professionals are seriously debating her potential dominance in a completely different sport, speaks volumes about Coco Gauff's freakish athleticism and versatile skill set. She's the kind of once-in-a-generation talent that could probably excel at any racket sport she chose to pursue seriously. While Coco navigates rumors of sport switching and secret business meetings, her fiercest rival on the tennis court has been busy attracting attention from an entirely different type of superstar. Iga Swiatek, the Polish powerhouse who stands as Coco's greatest contemporary rival, has captured the fascination of football royalty in a way that beautifully illustrates the intersection of elite athletics across different sports. Iga Swiatek is a national treasure in Poland. She's the only singles player in Polish history to win a Grand Slam title, making her not just a tennis champion, but a symbol of national pride and athletic excellence. Every time she steps onto the court representing Poland, she carries the hopes and dreams of an entire country. The pressure would crush most athletes, but Iga thrives under it, displaying the kind of mental toughness that separates champions from contenders. There's only one other Polish athlete whose global recognition rivals Iga's, Robert Lewandowski, the goal-scoring machine who has terrorized defenders across Europe for over a decade, currently starring for Barcelona after legendary runs with Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. Lewandowski isn't just famous, he's a cultural icon, one of the greatest strikers in football history. And it turns out he's absolutely obsessed with tennis, particularly with watching Iga Swiatek perform on the biggest stages. During the French Open final where Iga Swiatek faced Coco Gauff on the legendary court Philippe Chatrier, Lewandowski was in attendance, intensely focused on every point. This wasn't celebrity sightseeing or casual spectating. This was one elite athlete studying another elite athlete with genuine fascination and respect. After watching Swiatek dismantle Gauff with a commanding 6-1, 6-3 victory to claim the title, Lewandowski spoke with Eurosport and provided insights that revealed the depth of his tennis appreciation. Lewandowski explained how rare these opportunities are for him, noting that his demanding football schedule rarely allows time to attend tennis matches live. When the chance presented itself to watch Iga in a Grand Slam final, he seized it without hesitation. What struck him most profoundly was the emotional difference between watching individual sports versus team sports. In football, Lewandowski is surrounded by teammates who share the burden of victory and defeat. The emotions are collective, distributed across the squad. But watching IGA alone on that clay court, responsible for every decision and every point, brought a different kind of intensity to the viewing experience. But here's what separates Lewandowski from casual fans. He wasn't just watching for entertainment. He was analyzing technique. As one of the world's greatest athletes, he couldn't help but study the mechanics of another world-class performer. Lewandowski revealed that he spent significant time observing the footwork of both IGA and COCO, noting the small adjustment steps, the weight transfer, the positioning that casual viewers might miss entirely. These technical aspects, he explained, are what separate good players from great ones, and he could see those micro-movements that create macro-level advantages. Lewandowski offered a profound observation about the loneliness of individual sports compared to team athletics. He noted that while team sports require individual excellence, tennis players must solve problems entirely on their own during matches. There's no coach to call a timeout, no teammate to pick up the slack during a rough patch. Just the player, the opponent, and the court. Lewandowski expressed admiration for that kind of isolation under pressure, suggesting it's something team sport athletes should study and appreciate more deeply. IGA's reaction to learning that Lewandowski had been in the stands was priceless. She admitted she spotted him after the match when she climbed to her player box for celebrations, and her genuine shock was endearing. In classic humble fashion, IGA confessed she was grateful she didn't know he was watching during the match because the knowledge would have stressed her out beyond belief. Having one of Poland's greatest athletes of all time analyzing your every move? That's pressure on top of pressure. IGA described feeling overwhelmed by the realization that Robert Lewandowski, the man who had been the country's top athlete for years, had taken time from his schedule specifically to watch her play. This mutual respect between Swiatek and Lewandowski represents something beautiful about sports at the highest level. The barriers between disciplines fade away when you're operating at that elite tier. Greatness recognizes greatness, regardless of whether it happens on a football pitch or a tennis court. While IGA didn't successfully defend her French Open title this past season, falling to Aryna Sabalenka in the semifinals, she'll undoubtedly be back hunting for more clay court glory in 2026 with that same relentless determination that made Lewandowski such an admirer in the first place. So where does all this leave us in the grand scheme of women's tennis and sports business? We're witnessing multiple storylines converging into a perfect storm of drama, money, athletic excellence, and cultural impact. COCO Gauff is sitting at the center of it all, navigating secret meetings with sports royalty like Serena Williams and Michael Jordan, while inking deals worth tens of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, the pickleball world desperately wants her to make the switch, with credible professionals like Eugenie Bouchard predicting she'd dominate within months. At the same time, COCO continues obliterating opponents on the tennis court, stacking major titles while still barely old enough to rent a car in some countries. On the other side of the rivalry, IGA Swiatek represents the international dimension of tennis excellence, carrying Poland's hopes while attracting admiration from football legends who appreciate the artistry and mental strength required to succeed at that level. The Gauff-Swiatek rivalry has all the ingredients to define this era of women's tennis. Contrasting styles, mutual respect, national pride, and performances that consistently deliver on their immense hype. The business side of tennis has never been more lucrative or more complex. The $27 million deal reportedly involving COCO, Serena, and Michael Jordan signals a new era of athlete empowerment where the biggest stars control their own narratives and business destinies rather than relying solely on traditional endorsement structures. These aren't just tennis players anymore. They're brands, entrepreneurs, media personalities, and cultural influencers operating on a global scale. The money flowing into women's tennis specifically has increased exponentially, reflecting both the sport's growing popularity and the marketability of its biggest stars. The pickleball question hanging over COCO's career adds another layer of intrigue. Will she eventually try her hand at the sport that's dying for her involvement? Or will she view it as Eugenie Bouchard's consolation prize rather than a legitimate athletic challenge? COCO's comments suggest she sees pickleball as fundamentally beneath the skill level of tennis, but athletes have changed their minds before when the right opportunity presents itself. If someone offered COCO $50 million to play pickleball professionally for 2 years, would she still think it's fine and stick with tennis? Money has a way of making people reconsider their positions, especially when it's generational wealth money. What we're really watching is the evolution of sports business in real time. Athletes like COCO Gauff aren't just performing on courts. They're building empires that will outlast their playing careers by decades. The secret meeting with Serena and MJ represents the passing of the torch from one generation of sports business pioneers to the next. Serena revolutionized what was possible for women athletes in terms of endorsements, media presence, and business ventures. Michael Jordan literally created the modern athlete as brand template that everyone else follows. Now they're investing their knowledge, connections, and resources into COCO, who has the talent, personality, and platform to take it even further. The intersection of tennis excellence and business savvy creates a blueprint for the next generation of athletes across all sports. COCO isn't just collecting trophies. She's building a sustainable empire that addresses everything from athletic performance to media production to social justice initiatives. The $27 million deal likely represents just the beginning of a much larger financial and cultural movement that could reshape how young athletes approach their careers holistically rather than just focusing on their sport. As for the pickleball debate, it reveals something fascinating about sports hierarchy and credibility. Tennis has centuries of history, tradition, and established excellence. Pickleball is the upstart trying to prove it belongs in the same conversation. The fact that top tennis players can transition to pickleball and find immediate success does raise questions about comparative skill ceilings, just as COCO pointed out. But it also demonstrates that athletic excellence is transferable and that new sports deserve space to develop their own identity without constantly being compared to their older cousins. Whether COCO ever picks up a pickleball paddle seriously or not, the conversation itself has elevated pickleball's profile in ways the sport couldn't have achieved otherwise. The rivalry between COCO Gauff and Iga Swiatek promises to deliver compelling tennis for years to come. They represent different paths to excellence. COCO with her explosive American star power and business empire building. Iga with her cerebral European approach and meticulous technical perfection. When they meet on court, it's not just about rankings or prize money. It's about legacy, national pride, and proving which approach to the game produces better results. Robert Lewandowski, watching from the stands, analyzing footwork like he's scouting an opponent, captures the universal appeal of this rivalry. You don't need to be Polish or American to appreciate excellence when you see it. The future of women's tennis has never looked brighter or more financially secure. Prize money continues increasing. Viewership numbers climb steadily. Sponsorship deals reach unprecedented levels. Social media gives players direct access to millions of fans without traditional media gatekeepers. The combination of athletic excellence, business acumen, and cultural relevance creates opportunities that previous generations of players could only dream about. COCO Gauff stands at the forefront of this revolution, wielding influence that extends far beyond the baseline. So what happens next? Does COCO's secret deal with Serena and MJ result in the launch of a revolutionary new business venture that changes sports media forever? Does she eventually succumb to pickleball's siren song and dominate a new sport just to prove she can? Does Iga Swiatek reclaim her clay court throne and reassert dominance over the rivalry? Will Robert Lewandowski become a regular fixture at tennis matches, providing football insights into tennis technique? The answers to these questions will unfold over the coming months and years, providing endless drama and entertainment for sports fans across the globe. What's certain is that we're living through a golden age of women's tennis where the stars are bigger, the money is larger, and the stakes extend far beyond trophies and ranking points. COCO Gauff isn't just playing tennis. She's building a legacy that will inspire the next generation of athletes to think bigger about what's possible both on and off the court. Whether she ever touches a pickleball paddle professionally or sticks exclusively with tennis for her entire career, she's already changed the game in ways that will reverberate for decades. Now it's your turn to sound off. Do you think COCO should try pickleball just to see if Eugenie Bouchard's prediction is accurate, or would that be a step down for someone of her caliber? What do you make of that secret meeting with Michael Jordan and Serena Williams? Is it a business deal, a mentorship program, or something even bigger? Drop your theories in the comments below because I read every single one and I love seeing what this community thinks about these developing stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the rumors, the reality, and the revolution happening in tennis right now, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps the channel grow and allows us to bring you even more explosive content like this. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a breaking story from Champions Tennisitics. We're just getting started with the drama, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. I'll see you in the next one, where we'll continue bringing you the unfiltered truth about the tennis world and beyond.